Hey, welcome to Podium Archer. We're reviewing the LRP Arrow system versus the competitions with Levi Morgan. We did the original first part of it, fletching and arrows and drop and whatnot on Dan's channel over at Elkshape. Check him out. There's probably a link in here. Oh, it's up here? Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to pick up where we left off. This is the broadhead single rib penetration test. So,
no thanks.
All right, the business end of the LRP. So that's the Schwacker.
Picture for a more real.
That was a Grim Reaper. That's a Mega Meat from G5.
Another Schwacker 150 and
Rage in the cage.
And the previous one I think was a NAP.
Oh yeah.
Which that's a Kill Zone or something.
And this is the engineer who's designed the tack vanes and the Schwacker.
Yeah.
Seems like a cool dude. I don't think it is.
Does Justin Hanna shoot Elite?
Couldn't tell you. Do you think they should have had a hooter shooter doing this?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is hit different spots of the ribs, which, you know, no offense to the guys, I appreciate what they're trying to do, but that's like ridiculously crude.
And also they're about, what, 8 yards away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like it tried to come out the bottom.
So that right there is where ballistics gel is not an accurate medium for archery. Anybody shooting that far away with any broadhead is going to go way deeper than that. So the ballistics gel is creating the drag.
Well, let's watch the slow-mo.
Like that depth, you're going way deeper than that into anything. So he didn't hit a rib.
It's right out in the front, right?
Fully deployed and everything.
Yeah. They're just trying to show you what the deployment was. The purpose of this, pause it a second. The purpose of this, I believe, is to try to get people to realize that a Schwacker doesn't open until it gets past the ribs. That's the premise of it, and that's very unique in that regard. It's a really positive idea as long as you get out the back side, because you're gonna have a pinhole on the one side for a blood trail, so you better be shooting through the animal. But that's what I think the premise of what they were trying to show here is how that the penetration doesn't really change on their broadhead, because what you're trying to get through is what consumes penetration.
Let's see if they get to the slow-mo.
You're not necessarily.
There's slow-mo.
Yeah, plywood test happening later, which makes sense.
But the angle. And we got a major deflection.
Yeah.
That's probably why it didn't penetrate.
Right, and the one test that we didn't get the high-speed video, right, when we were doing just ribs, that deflected so bad it actually snapped the golden tip shaft. Oh, broke arrow.
Wow.
I think it's back low.
I think they should have kept this in the video.
Oh, I agree. But that's just shooting into ribs and not anything in behind it, so the whole thing's going to go crazy because there's nothing to drag or push into. One of the interesting things in that was the broadheads that are not penetrating as good, it's because they're open going through the ribs, where theirs is not.
Hard to argue with that. I mean, there's going to be gains and there's going to be losses with that.
You're not going to have an entrance hole, right?
I'll have my opinion on that, and we'll get into it. Okay, so
the Mega Meat, one blade open.
One blade open, one didn't. Okay, so let's get to this broadhead double rib penetration test. Do we have any slow-mo?
Gaps. We're actually going to hit a rib.
Okay, so there's no gaps in this, guys. They've got ribs on ribs. So it's going to hit a rib.
Yeah, there can still be some pretty good inconsistency in this, but at least they're hitting a rib, no matter what they're doing.
Ribs, we're trying to overlap them.
Man, those have been good on the smoker.
Should have,
I wonder if they ate them after that.
Probably.
I cooked them up. Yeah, attaboy.
Which would be inside the chest cavity on an animal, so we can see how the broadheads are reacting when they blow through that first.
You just forgot to put hide on there.
Went through the top edge of the rib, but a blue bone out the backside, so that's going to be cool.
That's the two LRP. So you can see it's opening already.
So that actually opened after I got through the first ribs before it hit the second ribs.
And that arrow's flying money.
Yeah, right?
Very little deflect.
Yeah, because it already got to track inside of what it was, so it would force the front of the arrow in a straight direction before the blades would allow it to deflect.
Just should have had some animal hide on there first.
I agree. Was that a Grim Reaper?
Yeah.
The Grim Reaper? So that's a pretty...
That's a 2-inch whitetail razor tip. So the largest cutting diameter one they have. So they make
Wasn't
smaller.
their Pro Series?
No, those are in the Pro Series.
Are they?
They also make a lot smaller cutting diameter heads. And they're trying to compare a 2-inch head, but a 2-inch 2-blade and 2-inch 3-blade are going to do very different things. So that's not necessarily a fair comparison. But still.
We got deflection on this one. Do you know what it was?
I don't recall.
Might be an NAP.
And
But you don't have there's no big hole going through that right there.
it went, and the entrance hole isn't big.
No,
It's real
that hole's
small.
not big.
So it looks like it didn't open.
It was open here.
On one side, it looks like.
It has both blades, but something funky was going on there. Because you don't have a big hole coming through.
I mean, I was shooting level, but you're an inch lower on that side. It deflected on this.
That deflected a lot. That's like a nightmare for me.
Yeah, that's a bad.
Definitely kicked way down.
I want to know what broadhead that is.
To the slow-mo.
Less than an inch.
Yeah.
It's definitely less than, I mean, it's an inch and a half.
This is the Rage.
Oh, it's a Rage.
It's a Rage.
Look how bad it
Yeah, look at
deflects.
that arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like an S.
Well, and if you hit the top of one rib and the bottom of the other rib, when you try to send it through there, you can get some interesting results. And I doubt they did that on purpose, but I'm betting that's got part to do with it. But man, that arrow flexes like crazy. That would be somewhat discouraging. What's surprising for a rear deploying broadhead, that's kind of the premise of a rear deploying broadhead, is the blades aren't going to push it. And I've never truly experienced that problem with a front deploy. It's something that you hear a lot about, but any of the Grim Reapers that I've used, I've never had that issue.
There's a 145, 150 inch whitetail on public land in the mountains. I pulled back, I had a Rage on. And when I got to full draw, that was a miracle. Like once on a whitetail,
Yeah, that's tough.
you're at full draw. Congratulations. The hardest part
Is
getting undetected draw.
Yeah.
I look at the end of my arrow and I have partial deployment on one side of my Rage. And regretfully, honestly, I still sent it at 9 yards. Did not recover that animal. There's another time I was at the archery trade show event where they wanted some celebrity hunters to shoot the Rages at 100 yards in front of a huge audience, and some people might have been there. That also did not go to plan.
Oh.
Some of those broadheads deployed before they ever reached the target and didn't hit the target. I'm not a huge Rage fan, and I know that there's some other guys out there that have bigger channels than me and Josh and push the Rage, and they'll tell you I am the opposite of them. I am 100,000% against Rages for elk. 100,000%, if that is even a number. You owe it to a big tough animal like that to do better. That's all I'm going to say about that.
No, I don't disagree with you. I'm not 100% convinced there's very many good mechanical broadheads that you ever should shoot at an elk. It's very, very restricted to me, and I have a really strict list of things that I mentally, personally require if it's going to be a mechanical shot at an elk, and 90+% of the broadheads out there, I wouldn't make the cut. So and I'm also typically shooting a long draw and a lot of weight. Like I have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And I still question anything over an inch and a half being shot at an elk. I just don't think it should. And if it's a 3-blade, I question like an inch and a quarter. Now, I've heard lots of positive results. I know Cam Haynes uses a carnivore. I mean, that's a 2-inch and an inch and a half 4-blade, right? And I know
Who makes that?
A Grim Reaper.
Okay.
I know. I know he shot at an elk and killed elk with it. So, I mean, it's not like an unheard of thing. But
There's a long list of guys who have killed elk with expandables, but there's another list that you'll never see.
That lose because of
You're not going to see it, guys, on the media side of things.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay bills to show animals you didn't recover. I just, I know in my heart of hearts, the wound rate on elk, I think, goes up when you make a poor shot selection, when you make a poor shot, and when you use an expandable. And if there's any combination of those three, it's going to be an uphill battle to recover that animal. They are tough as hell.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like I still am not 100% convinced you should even be shooting a mechanical at an elk, period. But I have like I said, I have a strict ruling of things that I think are okay, but I'm still not. I'm 100% that it's okay.
Most people know my opinion, but just for the record,
fixed blade only.
I tell people that come to these camps, like, you owe it to yourself to do the extra tuning, which is good for you and your bow anyways, and the energy that you send downrange. And if you're, worried about, should I take a frontal? Should I take a quartering too? Should I take a severe quartering away? There was no way in God's green earth I would ever use an expandable. And again, I'm a knuckle dragger. I'm not a professional archer. I don't make any money winning archery tournaments because I have no business being in one. So I'm a little more of I would say probably relatable as far as I'm not Levi Morgan. Not even close. And there's very few people that are.
there's one Levi Morgan.
He's amazing.
he's amazing.
All right, here's your Mega Meat. I've heard good things about them.
I have two. That's one of the ones I'm strongly thinking about
It
using
didn't
for whitetail.
oscillate. It didn't deflect much.
Yeah. That arrow's hardly bending. And that's some positive stuff.
That's some clean inches.
Yeah, like I think the Mega Meat has a great potential for deer, but good things in general. I know that's T-Bone's like go-to broadhead.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All those guys, the whole Bone Collector squad uses the Mega Meats.
Yeah. No.
On
for
elk,
sure.
too.
For sure. I think T-Bone's probably their most technical guy, though. So I
He's
gravitate
genius.
towards the technical to
I
guess.
would, whatever he says,
Yeah.
pretty much goes. He's wicked smart.
Yeah. So now when they're referring to blade deployment, and that's where it's why aren't you shooting through hide? Because that's normally what deploys the blades on any mechanical broadhead is the hide.
Yep, every time.
Most of the time, so that's the one that hit the rib. You can see it's on the top,
Didn't get a cut.
and that's the only one that hit a rib, so it didn't cut. So, I mean,
Slap a hide on, fellers.
Yeah, they're missing that part. That'd have been nice to see. Don't know if the results would be different, but I have a feeling they might be a little.
So, Josh, what do you think? Which broadhead have you sold the most out of all your years of selling online?
2 sets of ribs.
Oh, geez. Well, since I opened an Amazon store, man, I sell a lot of razor tips, like Grim Reaper razor tip, 1 3/8, like a crap ton. Like that's
Okay.
a really popular head. The 2-inch whitetail, which is one of the ones they used in here, they make that same exact broadhead with an 1 3/8 cutting diameter.
Right.
Which you
I like
gravitate.
that number.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, that's the same as like the Fatal Steel. It's like 1 3/8.
Yep.
But it's steel, whereas the razor tip's still aluminum. But they do something interesting on the razor tip. It's actually got razor blades in the chisel.
Yep.
So it's probably going to penetrate better than the Fatal Steel would.
Similar to a Grim Reaper.
That is a
Micro
Grim-
Hades.
That is a Grim Reaper. Yeah, but
The
your
chisel
micro
tip?
yeah, it's
The chisel tip on
no,
it.
it's a different chisel
It
tip.
is a
It's very different.
Wish we
It's
had it
actually
here.
got blades in it, but it's also an aluminum ferrule.
That is your 3-inch Schwacker. 3-inch?
Yeah, well, that's kind of the beauty and the premise of the argument that they're trying to make, that it doesn't matter how big that blade is if it doesn't open until it gets through the ribs.
For deer, that seems like a good option.
Yeah.
As long as you don't mess up and hit anything you're not supposed to.
Yeah, but once again, it's only going to matter what you hit on the backside. Because, I mean, that might not even deploy until you get through a shoulder. Because if you hit the shoulder, the way the blade system sits and the way that works, it's going to get inside before it gets a chance to open. So that blade's going to kind of force itself open in the cavity.
Wow.
Not going through the side of the cavity. I'm really intrigued by the broadhead. I didn't know it worked like that
Confession.
until I saw this.
I ordered two 3-packs of Schwackers
Mm-hmm.
because we're going to be doing some testing, coming up some videos, and I needed them. And you didn't sell them yet. You didn't have them in inventory
Yeah,
yet.
but I do have one I want you to compare it to, because
Which one's that?
Slick Trick makes one called the Razor Tip that looks just like it, but it's steel.
I want that, and then I want the
Yeah.
Sever in there. I really like the Sever this year. The 175 and the 1.5.
Yeah.
I really like
I've got
the
a few of
Sever.
those in the shop we can play
Anything with
with. You have some
titanium?
of those too to play with. Yeah. Titanium's good.
Okay, the next is Broadheads, Hide, and Plywood. I think this is what we were asking
Yeah,
for.
this is what we're asking for.
No, you don't have plywood on animals, but that's the only consistent medium that we can use.
I like that.
Which I agree. Yeah, like I'm leaning towards. It's hard to have really consistent hide time after time after time, which is
Right.
why I was kind of leaning towards leather, because I could pick a thickness of leather and get the same
yeah.
every time.
You got to have that hair.
Because I want to build like a jig that you put a piece of leather in, you put a piece of plywood in, and then whatever medium behind it that you use to stop the arrow, to test broadheads over and over.
So we just need the audience to help us build some testing protocols. Please comment below.
Yeah, what do you think is a fair and equal thing to do? I'm willing to bet both of the Schwackers did not put a hole through that wood. See how it's
Razor sharp because it didn't go through the wood.
in and then opens. See how it opens after it goes through?
Right.
Because it didn't go through the wood, right? Where the Grim Reaper actually went through the wood.
So you'll have an
and
entry
stops.
hole with the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, unless it stops,
Get through the plywood.
which is pretty interesting.
Got blades, but they're detached.
Razor stuck on the entrance.
Yeah.
Evenly. Went through with the ferrule.
Yeah, ferrule, no blades.
That's not going to do you good.
No, I do wonder, did they reuse the same broadheads over and over, or were those clean heads that they shot?
I wish they would show
I
more.
wish I
Just
knew that.
show more of your protocols so we can understand control.
Hypodermic, and both blades are stuck in the plywood.
So the Rage just didn't do well.
No. No, and this specific test, the way it's set up, should make the Schwacker look the best because it doesn't have to cut through any of that. Like the tip goes through, the blades don't. So the blades are like an inch. So
There's going to be some trade-offs with the Schwacker.
Sure. Yeah, you're not going to have an entrance hole.
But.
And it's aluminum.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Come on, Josh.
They make a steel one, but it's it doesn't look anything like the other ones. It's a lot smaller. It's a lot squattier. So that's an open broadhead they just shot. So they just shot an open deployed broadhead. So in any
on purpose?
I don't think it was on purpose. I'm sure it probably opened when they shot it, but they didn't like reshoot it shut or like grab another one and shoot it again. That was the NAP.
A little bit of a misconstrued test, but
No, at least he acknowledges that.
mega meat.
So the mega meat penetrated, probably is going to get sucked back a little.
A little bit, but it out-penetrated everything, but two of the blades broke off.
See, this is a prime example why I designed this broadhead really for elk, right?
Oh, he designed it for elk.
That's what he says.
Just trying to get through that first set of ribs. And this design clearly shows these blades are razor blade sharp because they didn't...
See that it opened after it went through.
Right.
And it shows it really well. Like that's exactly how it's supposed to work. And I think it would really do that. My bigger concern would be, do you get an exit hole? So do you get a blood trail?
Well, that's where we need to... Is there any more tests we need to know about? Oh, yeah. This is the most... Iron Will, Bill, are you watching this? They're using your...
Yeah. And once again, they're probably going to end up, if I remember right, they end up with similar results.
To an iron will?
Yeah. But if you think about it, that arrow doesn't have to go through the hide and the ribs with the blades open.
Fair.
Right? So you probably are going to get similar results. But I guarantee you the iron will is going to have a 10 times more likelihood of exiting the other side. Because that 2-inch or 3-inch that they're shooting still got to get out the other side. And I mean, if you look at the penetration that they're getting into that ballistics gel, that's not anything near what you would really get.
So they have a hide and a piece of...
Yeah, like the ballistics gel is designed to stop it.
Okay, so they're going through hide. They're going through a
and
little...
then it opens. See, it makes it almost an inch in before the blade even opens.
Let's do that again.
Here you go. Tips in, and then the blade opens. So it's like an inch into the ballistics gel before the blade even opens up.
That's a damn good design.
It is. It will work the way it's supposed to, but is it going to get out the other side? And that's what worries me.
It's probably not.
And that one still penetrated more, even though it had to go through all that and not open.
Here's the truth. There is going to be hemorrhage. There is going to be blood leaving the container as far as the vessels, the arteries, the lungs. The lungs are nothing to cut through, PS. Yeah. The problem is that I just don't see how that's going to get through the other side if you hit a rib on the way out. Because you got rib and hide to exit, and those are open. But it is going to cause the hemorrhage. The container is going to get filled up with blood. The animal is going to die. Will the blood get on the ground with that teeny tiny entrance hole? I'm not certain. And I know that elk, I like to have 2 holes. I think we all do. But on elk specifically, they said that he designed that for elk. My only concern for him would be getting an actual exit, which is really, really important to me. I know that the iron will, no matter what test they do with all their high-speed cameras, you can't sit here and tell me that that can penetrate equally to an iron will going through the thickest part of a scapula, going through a rib, and then exiting through a rib. I'm just saying my money is on the iron will to get out.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with your statement there. And that does the one thing that does frighten me a little bit is, are you going to get out the other side? Now, that being said, when I saw this video, I really liked the Schwacker a lot. Like I was like, this is really very unique and interesting. Just can it get out the other side? Because you don't have a hole on the one side. You got to like a pinhole. Be like if you shot something with a field point. And the iron will is really a testament to that shape and design of size. Now, granted, Bill's the number one of quality of the shape and design of size, but anything that had a shape and design like that would probably give you a similar result. Because once again, it boils down to the shape and the dimension of what you're using and the angle that the blade's at for penetration. Just being fair.
The other thing that I didn't see here, and this is just my observation, so that arrow is spinning. The Shwacker did a great job in all these tests in slow-mo of never really deflecting, not a lot of oscillation, a lot of the energy going straight forward. But my question for you, Josh, is when those blades open, is that arrow still spinning? Because I have literally cut up animals that I've killed with an iron will single bevel, and I've seen the corkscrewing going all the way through, and it's devastation. Is the Schwacker able to corkscrew inside?
It'll still turn. I have no doubt of that, but its design isn't trying to turn. Now, if they single beveled those blades in it, it would. Like Severs do that. Like they're one side single beveled, so it'll still corkscrew just like that.
I did not know that.
But the uniqueness of this is if you look at that shape right there, the tip to where the blades open is like longer than the entire iron will. So that tip is going to go all the way in to the animal before the blade opens. So you're 2 inches in before the blades even think about opening.
Is the Schwacker the best expandable mechanical on the market?
I think there's a very high likelihood of it, but they have one big major fatal flaw in my mind.
The material?
They're aluminum. It's an aluminum ferrule.
I know how you feel about aluminum.
Well, I know how you feel about aluminum.
It ain't
I
good
haven't
feelings.
I haven't seen you shoot a broadhead that's got aluminum in it other than a turkey.
That's a fact.
Right?
Yeah.
Why? Because it bends, and it bends relatively
pliable.
easy. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as to why they haven't addressed that. Now, there is a broadhead in their line that's steel, but it's like a quarter of the size. The blade system looks different. So you're not going to gain the same things that you gain with that. You're not going to have 2 inches of penetration before the blades open. You're going to have more like 1 inch of penetration before the blades open. And it's probably why it's not very popular and probably why they don't really talk about it a lot, even though it's actually got Levi's name on it. It's like Levi Morgan signature, blah, blah, blah. Right? But Levi doesn't shoot him either.
Right.
He's got his own 2.5 inch one that he uses.
It's blue.
It's blue, yeah. And it's got a little plastic pin in it that holds the blade shut instead of an O-ring. Then the plastic pin severs when you open it.
So just reshooting them.
Yeah. This is their 3-inch, 150 grain Schwacker. So it's a 3-inch cutting diameter, not a 2-inch cutting diameter.
Let's put an exit on there.
That's a wound channel right there.
Yeah, but it doesn't typically change how deep it goes in because you're not trying to cut a 3-inch hole through the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, right?
That out-penetrated everything else by the small iron will.
Oh, he's got a single bevel. Mm-hmm. And I got to back up. Can I get there? Look at this.
There you go.
This is your single bevel.
Okay.
Look at that thing spinning. Holy crap. You can see the corkscrewing.
Yeah. And look at the cavitation hole in comparison. It's much bigger.
And then that's a huge hole as well. But look, it didn't. I mean, it's.
Yeah, so they're comparing a screw-together system that's largely aluminum to a glue-in one-piece broadhead. Okay, so let's emphasize how much obviously better it's going to be to have a one-piece glue-in broadhead, which I have been asking for manufacturers for 4 to 5 years. If you eliminate the variable of the two pieces going together, you make a way more solid broadhead, and I don't contest that at all. And it would be even immensely more solid if it wasn't made out of aluminum.
What did we learn? One, those guys put a lot of work in.
That was a very, very
Thank you for doing
video.
that, fellas. Is the Schwacker the best expandable on the market? I don't know. I've never used it. I'm going to try to kill something with it, but it won't be an elk. It'll probably be a deer. Are you as good a shot as Levi? No, you're not. But, you know, Levi Morgan is a good dude. I have a lot of respect for him. I think that engineer that was on there is legit. I don't know who the other guy is, but honestly, super impressed. For me and my money, I'm going to go with a fixed iron will single bevel. Get that channel. I could take a frontal, a 1/4 in front of the shoulder, behind the shoulder, severe quartering away. I'm getting through stuff, and that gives me the confidence I need.
And you're doing it with a reasonable weight arrow, not a ridiculously heavy arrow, which is the
425 has been the average this year.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the whole problem with this heavy arrow crap is they're all using that kind of a broadhead. Well, it's the broadhead. It's not the arrow.
Well,
So,
that's a
anyway,
different,
that makes
different
a very
video.
different discussion for a different day for sure.
What's
but
your
it just-
takeaways, Josh? This is your channel. Close it out.
I think they made a very good video. I think they did a very good job of trying to highlight the positives of their product, and I think that was a phenomenal thing. I did have a little bit of questionable things that they were leaving certain things out that I wonder what the outcome really would have been. Who knows? But all in all, they definitely made a really good job on that video. It made a lot of effort to make it a good, elaborate video that has gotten a lot of views and a lot of attention, and rightfully it should. That was a lot of work. And I'm very, very intrigued in that design, in that Schwacker design. I really am. I think there's a lot of positives to it. I'm not positive it really should be shot at an elk, but I think you can shoot that at anything else without any kind of a problem. But I also think you could shoot something that'll make a big hole on the entry and the exit on almost anything else. And then you have 2 big holes in the side of something, not 1, depending on who you are and how much weight you're using. So all these things are relevant to the individual based off of their setup. So don't just blindly pick something. But that broadhead's very intriguing. I just wish it was steel of a similar shape. Or titanium, you know. I know a guy.
Thanks for watching, guys.